Good morning, and happy Thursday. And as always, we are getting it done with gratitude. And with you this morning, as always, are your hosts, Shelly and Karen. And this morning, we are talking about where we are right now, which is, believe it or not, the end of the first quarter of 2024. How
Yep.
did we get here so quickly? So that's where we are. And it's always good to be reviewing as you go along. We would always talk about whether it's your habits, whether it's your goals that you're setting. It's always very useful to be just doing a check-in. And we thought that today, being the end of the quarter, this is a wonderful time for us to check in with you and really hear from you. How has it been going? How is your gratitude journey going? How are you infusing gratitude into your everyday life, your business, all aspects of it? And so that's really what we are going to be exploring today, the whole action of reviewing, the whole thing about reassessing and seeing where you are, but then looking ahead because we look in the rearview mirror to allow us to advance
Mm-hmm.
safely.
Mm-hmm.
So this is
Mm-hmm.
what we're going to look at this morning. So getting right into it, let me quickly introduce myself. By now, all of you know who we are, but just in case that someone's hopping off for the very first time because they heard about this awesome conversations that take place on a Thursday morning and they wanted to join us. Let me introduce myself. So, I am Karen Williams Thompson. I am a life strategist and personal growth coach. And what I do is I work with women and help them to get absolutely clear on their why. As women, we juggle so many roles and responsibilities, and sometimes the lines can get blurred, and the person that is often left out or put to the back of the line is ourselves. And so I help you to get absolutely clear on what is it that you want for yourself and why you want that. We look at what is keeping you stuck or what's stopping you from moving in the direction that you want to. And then we get to create a strategic plan based on your vision and your goals for where you want to go. And we do this all with accountability, with transparency, and most of all, with some love. So that's a little bit about what I do. Say yes to your dreams. And with me on Thursday mornings and otherwise is my dear friend Shelly Ann. Shelly, good morning.
Hi, good morning, Karen. Yeah, could you believe that? The end of the quarter already, 3 months into 2024. So much has happened. If I only tell you, I don't half an hour is not enough.
Yeah, it's true though.
Yeah, and just to check in and to let to remind our viewers who have been joining us regularly, and to let those who are joining us for the first time, welcome. Thank you for joining us. I am Shelly Ann Edwards Barron, and I am a gratitude guide and habit coach. And what that means is that I work with my clients to help them establish keystone habits that get them where they need to be, and doing it all through gratitude, because sometimes things something happens when we hit 40, and we feel like we have to do more and be more and add and add and add to our plate, because we look around and we feel sometimes like we haven't accomplished what we want to accomplish. But what that leads to usually is burnout, because we are adding more to our plate rather than doing things differently. And so, what I help my clients do is to navigate that burnout and distress by introducing a daily habit of gratitude that allows them to enjoy their journey while they are accomplishing their goals. Because I really do believe that people over 40 deserve to enjoy their journey. And it's not a matter of I will be happy when. We can be happy and enjoy our lives now. Excuse me.
Mhm.
And really enjoy the steps that we're taking, enjoy the moments, and do it all with gratitude. So I focus a lot on reclaiming joy and reclaiming peace and reclaiming love within lives for my clients. So taking a look back over the last 3 months, that is something that I encourage my clients to do regularly. We do weekly check ins, monthly check ins, and quarterly check ins because, from time to time, we do life happens. We veer off course. Things change and so on. And as a habit coach, that's something that it's extremely important. In establishing a habit, you have to monitor the consistency and make adjustments to make sure that things remain consistent in establishing and maintaining the habit. So I think for those who haven't had that kind of habit in terms of monitoring their goals and their dreams and so on, it's definitely something to adopt. I've been doing it for years and it has been so helping in terms of the productivity and the adjustment and pretty much being a catalyst toward moving to where I want to be.
Absolutely. And with me, I'm a planner. I love a plan. I love creating a plan. I love designing a plan. I love helping you get your plans done. I am all about a plan. But for me personally, every week I do a review. Every week I check and I see to myself, okay, these are the things that I wanted to achieve at the beginning of the week. These are the things I set out for myself. These are the intentions that I've set. And just look to see, did I manage to get through all of them? Maybe something happened, and like you said, you veer off course because life happens. And
Hmm.
I find it
Hmm.
so useful because it allows me to see where I am. It allows me to celebrate, the
Yeah.
milestones that I have reached. But then it also allows me to plan, to set my intentions for the next week and for the next quarter. And so when you look at where we are right now, this is coming close to the end of March. At the beginning of the year, you may have set yourself things that you wanted to achieve as a year objective for the year, or you might have been a person who would have broken them down and you have said, I wanted to achieve this by quarter or by mid-year or even better by month. But the important thing is, if we don't measure anything, how do we know that we are making the progress that we want? And so
Hmm.
oftentimes
Hmm.
people think that, creating a plan is, well, headache, it takes a little time and you got to map out everything, etc. But it's so useful when you want to do that check because it helps you to have something to reference against. And that's the beauty of it. So
Yeah.
when you are doing your reviews now, just, look back, but also as you are reviewing it, don't forget to express gratitude for all the things that you did achieve. In other words,
Hmm.
don't just get locked into the ones that you didn't get done. Look at the things that you did achieve first and celebrate those. Make as much of a fuss, do whatever brings you joy, but celebrate the ones that you have achieved. I think that's a very, very important takeaway for today. Just celebrate what you have achieved. Too often in life we get to a place where we are always looking at what we didn't get done. Oh dear, I missed that. Oh, I didn't get to do.
Yeah. Yeah.
Stop and really just celebrate it. And then you're at that point where you can make some adjustments. Like with Shelly and her clients, as she was mentioning earlier, with habits, if you don't stick to it, I could tell you all. I talk about giving up bread. This be an easy one for me to confess. I talk about giving up bread. But and I'd be going good. I'd be going really good. And then you just have that one day where you didn't get a meal prep, you didn't have anything. And I'm telling you all, this is how I think it is. The bread is in the bread bin and it's saying, Karen, we're here. We're I really try to resist. I'm not kidding you all. I really try to resist most of the time, right? But
Yeah.
there have been occasions when I have said, okay, here I am. And I am
Yeah.
into a happy sandwich. So I'm saying habits, but then you have to get back up. You have to really say, okay, what happened that you allow that bread to call you in and really just,
Yeah.
reset.
Hmm.
So
Hmm.
pausing, reviewing, resetting, and adjusting. Some things that I've
Yeah.
really seen the benefit of in life.
And I think like during the at the end of the first quarter, especially for those of us who have set um, we have intentions set for the year, but we also have that word for the year. It's
Mm-hmm.
also a good time to check in and to see, the progress that you've made with the word for the year. And it's so interesting that when you set those guides or those directional targets, we find that at the back of our minds things are working and we're moving forward even when we don't always pay attention to it. But if we don't do the check-in, then at some point it's going to fade. And so, because it's not at the front. And so we do need to check in and to do that, refocus. And I love what you said about sometimes those adjustments,
Mm-hmm.
because if you do the check-in and you do the assessment and you realize, hey, I'm not where I wanted to be, then there's a moment for a review. Is where you wanted to be, was it realistic? Let me put it that way.
Mm-hmm.
Was it a realistic goal? Have you done all that you could do toward achieving this milestone? Have you made progress? Because sometimes, we say, okay, I didn't do it. But then you look back and you realize it was a 10-step process and you've completed 8 of the steps. So you could be really close to achieving it and not realizing how close you are.
Mm-hmm.
So all of these things really, really help. And let's say you haven't done it. What was it that was keeping you back? And what can you do about it? Because the awesome thing about doing the check-in is that when you review and you might see things that, you haven't accomplished, now is the time to take a step. So it's not a moment to lament and say, hey, I'm not getting this done. I should give up on it. It's a moment to say, hey, I didn't get this done yet. What is holding me back? Let me see what steps I can take now to move forward. And it's almost like if, you're rejuvenating and rekindling the excitement about going after the goals and achieving the goals. So, and this is where the gratitude comes in by, really focusing on the moment, focusing on all the things that you are grateful for and can be grateful for over the past 3 months or so. What's going to happen is that, remember, we spoke all this time about gratitude giving you that infusion of dopamine and serotonin, and we have all these, emotions and chemicals positively, coursing through us. It's the
Mm-hmm.
perfect time to, say, all right, I didn't quite get this done. Let me see what I can do now. And that's what I love about doing the quarterly check-ins, because
Mm-hmm.
sometimes it's a bit involved to do that weekly check-in, and we don't always do the 100% check-in. Or at least I don't. I aim for it, and I do try to check in at least partially, and I have the system where I have a full thing to write down. Sometimes I get it perfectly done, sometimes I don't, but the quarterly check-in allows me to see things as a whole and not just the day by day, week by week part. So I get to sort of observe over time what has happened so that I could make decisions in moving forward. Yeah.
And that's the real joy in the adjustment, that's the real joy in taking the pause. And when you think about it, it's important in every sphere of life. If you're an
Mhm.
athlete, if you are a business owner, I remember when I was in corporate, we would always have reviews, and you would look at what your performance was one quarter versus another quarter, because
Yeah.
that allowed you to see any red flags, that allowed you to identify gaps, but it also allows you to see the opportunities, because
Mhm.
sometimes in the adjustments we realize that this is not something that is needed right now, and so we could put it into a different time. We can see that this was not as urgent as I thought it was going to be, so we can reassign that. So when
Mhm.
you are assessing, it allows you to see things that you did not see at the beginning when you were creating the plan, and it then allows you to set a new, slightly different, or maybe just a different version of the goal. So the what you want to achieve, you may actually be tweaking it. And I think this is where it really where the gold is, because then that
Mhm.
allows you to feel to have that good feeling, to have the feeling of yes, I'm getting it done, I am accomplishing, I am achieving. So the assessment is not particularly about focusing on the looking back, but it is really about here's where I am. Here's what I have achieved. Let me celebrate those things. Let me also celebrate the things that are going to be coming. And this is where the gratitude comes in, because you
Mhm.
can express that gratitude, whether you've been practicing that by writing a gratitude journal. I mean, we've talked about loads of ways. You can always go back and listen to any of the episodes before. You can find them all on our YouTube channel, and there's loads and loads of good stuff in those sessions that you can go
Yeah.
back. And the beauty of that, you can go back as often as you like. You can listen to a particular episode as many times as you like. So feel free to just subscribe and check out the ones that you may have missed. But expressing your gratitude for opportunities is also just to help you recognize and to see the resources and the privilege, of getting it. A lot of people talk about manifesting, but when you're expressing gratitude, it's a bit of that where you are saying, this is what is going to be. And so I think it's such a beautiful exercise and a place to be. And we're in that season of Easter with Lent coming to an end, and that's also always traditionally been seen as a time of reflection,
Mhm.
of quietness, of looking within at yourself and seeing, where you are, how you're showing up, and so forth. So adjust for sure.
Yeah, and don't be afraid to adjust, because
Yes.
sometimes we set a goal and we believe that this is the way to accomplish the goal.
Mm-hmm.
But if it's one thing that I've learned in this life, there are many ways to accomplish a goal,
Mm-hmm.
and some may take longer, some may take shorter, but it's always about what am I able to do? What do I want to do in pursuit of this goal? And so adjustments are always needed,
Mm-hmm.
because maybe sometimes, we decide, okay, I want to do this. And then while you're doing it, you realize, okay, yeah, so no, not this right now. Just as you said, sometimes things happen and we think, yeah, I think I want to do something else. This is not the way I want to go, because, we're allowed
Life
to do that.
happens. Yeah,
Yeah.
and sometimes it's as simple as that. Life happens, and what was working at that time can't work
Hmm.
now for a specific reason. And so
Yeah.
you get to pivot. I think when you're doing your review, I call it a review to reassess and then to like reassign. Just
Hmm.
check your thoughts. You review what is going on, you assess what it is, and then you build out on that, because we can get stuck, and that's
Yep.
where the gratitude comes into to play as well. We
Oh,
can
yeah.
sometimes get stuck in, oh my goodness, I said I should have done this by now. I have been guilty of that. There are things that I've wanted to achieve by a set time. And if I don't
Hmm.
catch myself, I will be right down the rabbit hole saying, oh my goodness, I wanted to achieve this by now. What happened? Why you didn't do that? And I could be just skating down a road that we don't want to go down. So use it really as a tool to advance you. Use it as a tool that if things fell off and life happened, this pause, this adjustment, this review time, this is a time for reset. This is a time to
Hmm.
reboot. This
Hmm.
is a time to
Hmm.
just say, okay, what's done is done. Celebrate what I did get done. Let's reboot. Let's go again. and get
Yeah.
back up and get on it, because that's the beauty of building a habit. You're going to fall off, but you got to get back up.
And the thing with that is we always have to work with forgiveness and compassion, because it's
Mhm.
easy to try to find someone or something to blame
Mhm.
for, us not being where we want to be. But that blame and holding on to that, whether it's blaming ourselves or someone else, that's not really, making the load lighter for us to move forward. Is actually making it heavier and contributing to staying where we are. And so it's important to work with that forgiveness and compassion. And it I always go back to this concept of infusing goals with gratitude, so that whatever you discover when you look back and at where you wanted to be and that kind of thing, then sometimes, as you said, the negative comes up. And this is where the gratitude comes in to sort of counterbalance that, to help
Yes.
us see the positive, even if we didn't accomplish, what can we celebrate in the journey?
Mhm.
What did we learn? Sometimes it's that we learned this is not what we want.
Mhm.
Sometimes it
Mhm.
could be that we learned this is not the direction we really want to go. And that's okay. It's a beautiful thing when you have this, cycle of review and renewal of vows almost, we're checking
Yes.
in, we're checking in with the, what we set out to do. We can adjust and we know how we want to feel, and we can adjust to help us get those feelings. And so before we get too carried away with the discussion, I wanted to ask, what's one thing that you can celebrate, Karen? Let's talk a bit about that, because I'm looking at my vision board right now, looking at, a couple of the things that I wanted to get done. It's not
Mhm.
all complete, but they're all on the way, different stages. So I have made progress. Um, and the one that I want to celebrate is the traveling, because I know for those of you who've been following, you'd see I have a different background um this time. So I am actually not at my original space. I have had the opportunity and the wonderful opportunity to travel with my kids. And that to me is like a huge step forward. It's something that I've wanted to do for a long time. And I'm actually living the things that I wrote down, a couple years ago. Not even this year was a reiteration of it. Um, but I'm living the things that I want to live right now. And so I wanted to celebrate that. And even within that, while I'm saying it, because the negativity is so strong, while I'm saying this at the back of my mind, I'm thinking, yeah, but you didn't get everything done. But that's okay. And I have to keep reminding myself it's okay. You are where you are right now. There's so much to be grateful for. And then I go through my list, and sometimes it's, for me, it's a challenge always, holding on to that positivity and the gratitude. That's why I write it down, so that I could go back and take a look at it and read it. If I can't think of anything in the moment, I could just flip back a couple pages and read some and remind myself. So that's what I am celebrating at the end of this quarter, doing things that I have wanted to do for years. At the beginning of 2024, I said, this is a year I'm going to do these things. And I have one big one that I can check off, which is the traveling. Yeah. Yes, yes. Clap. Happy dance for that, right?
Yes, absolutely, absolutely. My journey has really been a bit different. So this year so far has been up and down. So what I am celebrating is that I have not stayed down. I have
Mm,
gotten back up each and every single time,
that's
because
huge.
things started to just I call it tripping over each other, you know. Like February went so fast, I'm not even sure where it went. So like I felt as if I was just on a hamster wheel going to da. And so March, I used March as an opportunity to reclaim me, to make sure that I was just slowing it down a bit, taking control of what I have control over and releasing the ones that I don't have control over. And so that's work in progress, but that feels a lot better this month. I was thinking only this morning before we came on that it feels better. It's not exactly where I want it to be, but I can feel the difference. So I know that it's moving and I'm doing some stuff right. So, because often as coaches, we have to take, well, I have a coach and a mentor, but we always need to take our own recommendations and suggestions. So we work with people and tell them, you know, this is what you need to do, and this is how you need to do it, and this is what you should be doing it. And then we come along, and sometimes we are not swallowing the same medicine. So it's doing a bit of that. And the other thing that I will absolutely celebrate is my commitment to um, starting back working with a trainer and having stuck it out. Even when I came home on Saturday and I thought, oh my goodness, I am not able to do another thing today. But it feels good to be back, challenging my body, training. You know, who would have said? But it feels good. So those are the things that um, come up for me right now that I would want to celebrate.
Yeah, those are awesome. Yeah, we need to clap and celebrate that too. And sometimes it just it feels good knowing that even if you planned on taking 2,000 steps, but you only took 100, that's 100 steps that you took.
Mm-hmm. It's true.
And and
And it's
so
about reminding yourself that you took the
yeah.
100 and celebrating those and not look at the others that you still have to go.
Mm-hmm,
Absolutely.
mm-hmm. Because you may be going slower than you wanted to, and maybe out of the 10 things you only got one done, but it's it's so much of there's like so much joy infused in these things. And then
Mm-hmm.
what I recommend to my clients, so after, let's say you have a list of 10 and you're only able to check one and you celebrate that one, go back to the other nine and see what there is in the other nine that you could be grateful for before
Mm-hmm.
you reassess. So when you get to that reassessment, you want to, so like for me, for example, I am still working on completing a book that I started a couple years ago, and I've gotten to the point where I am almost finished. I do need to make one or two revisions based on feedback that I got. Um, but I've made such progress. So what do I have that I can be grateful for regarding this project? And so when I look at it, I can see that I've gotten incredible support from others, giving the advice, reading sections and giving feedback. I've gotten support in terms of the the time to work on it. I've gotten so much input and support in the process that I no longer feel like if it's a burden in doing this. Even though I wanted to get it done, I don't feel like if it's a burden, and I don't feel like, I've lost time anymore. And for me, that's a huge thing. So even the ones that we have not yet accomplished, there's still something to be grateful for in that, and we can move on that and act on that and feel good about our journey moving forward. Yeah.
That is just so true. And there are just so many ways that you can look at it, and life is so busy that it's easy to get distracted. And that's why forgiveness is so important, because life happens and you can get caught in being hard on yourself. So, you know, we always
Yeah.
encourage that you speak to yourself with love. I often say, speak to yourself as you would the person that you love the most in the world. So, however you would speak to that person, That's how you want to be speaking to yourself as well. Because
Mhm.
life happens, and depending on what that happening is, it can really throw you for a curve. And sometimes getting back on track is not as easy as sometimes it's made to seem. So when you are able to reassess, but more importantly, when you are able to celebrate and to express gratitude for what the occasion brought you, maybe it was maybe it would turn out to be something that you learned, maybe it was,
Mhm.
I don't
Mhm.
know what it could be, but whatever it is for you, then recognize that, acknowledge that, express the gratitude for that, and then keep moving. And I
Yeah,
think
and
this is
love yourself through it all. That's
yes,
that's the thing for me. Love yourself through it all because at the end of the day, you are with yourself 100% of the time.
tell
So
me.
yeah, love yourself through it all. And I think that's perhaps one the best note to end on when it
Mm-hmm.
comes to getting it done with gratitude. You also get it done with love, get it done with compassion as you
Yes.
move forward. So,
Mm-hmm.
thank you very much for joining us today. And we hope that you set aside some time, sometimes, half an hour to an hour, to do a review of your first quarter 2024.
Mm-hmm.
Celebrate every single win, even if it is that you have made it this far.
Mm-hmm.
Celebrate that. And as you look forward to what you want to continue working on, infuse it with gratitude, infuse it with the joy and the love of yourself and those around you, and life will be manageable, much more manageable than you might think it is right now. So have a good one, and we will be here next week, Thursday again, getting it done with gratitude and talking about all the things that we did. Actually, next week is episode 52. Yep. So it's the end of our year-long commitment, and I would love for us to do a review of. I want to talk about my favorite episode, for example. So,
Ah,
so let's we'll check in next week so you can enjoy that conversation as well. All right. Take care,
and
everyone.
maybe
Have a
you
good
can
one.
share what was your favorite episode.
Yeah, I'm gonna post that. Share what's your favorite episode.
Absolutely.
All right. Take care.
Bye, everyone.